everyone, and welcome to my Wednesday cast. I was gonna cast yesterday, but I actually wasn't feeling all that well. But I'm gonna make it up to you today. I do have two pretty good replays from two very notable Terrans from the StarCraft 2 Battle.net forums. They've been pretty active supporters of me since I began this project, so I think it's about time that I gave you two more of their games. First off, we have Slurpee versus Minzy, and Minzy is the alt account of Wrath, who I casted in that one TVZ where I highlighted his multi-pronged drop play. So we should see how he manages to use his drop play in TvP on the map Daybreak. I've had a few TvPs that I've highlighted on this map so far. The best one, of course, being Jinro versus Brown that I did last week. So we'll see if Wrath. I'm just going to call him Wrath from here on out, even though his alt account name is Minzy. I'm just going to see how Wrath is able to use his drop play to his advantage on this map that normally favors Protoss. But okay, down here in the bottom left position of the map Daybreak, we have the red Protoss player Slurpee, and in the top right we have the blue Terran player Minzy and or Wrath, whichever you prefer. So apparently these two have met on ladder before, which is why Wrath said hello again, GG's, which happens a lot too. Anybody who's played on the ladder before knows that every now and then you'll get like the same player over and over again. It's not necessarily a bad thing either. It's actually kind of fun, I think. You get like the same player over and over again. It's like kind of how you make friends, you know, online. You play the same guy a few times, you get to know how he plays a little bit, and you know, you have fun with it. I mean, this game's easy to take too seriously. It's every now and then you just have to remember to have fun. So let's see if these guys are going to go for a typical macro style. If Wrath is going to go for that gaseous expand that is so popular on the Terran metagame in this matchup, and if we're going to see a 1-gate expand coming in from our red Protoss player. I haven't actually seen any at all how Wrath plays TvP, so I don't know if he's fond of more of an aggressive style or if he's fond of more of a passive style. That's typically or there's also a third option, which is the style that is very all-in. There's a lot of very all-in-ish Terran styles that utilize 1-1-1 variations, 2 racks pressure. The new really popular strategy of very heavy barracks. That's kind of like semi all-in, but I guess I would consider that more of an aggressive style more than I would consider it an all-in-ish style. So we do have this one barracks coming up for Wrath. We still have no gas down yet. We do see that he's saving up beyond 300 minerals, so we are probably going to be seeing a low ground gaseous expand, especially since he has not walled off. So this is probably going to be a gaseous expand, and we are probably going to see a 1-gate expand out of our Protoss player. So it looks like these guys are going to be opening very, very standard for this matchup in the higher level play. I'm eager to see how this is going to play out from here. Okay. Now, last night, actually, we got to see at least one TvP. I'm not really much of a fan of spectating PvPs, I'm sorry to say. But I did manage to see the TvP between Incredible Miracles MVP and Quantic's Naniwa last night. And that was anything but a conventional TvP series. And following the series, I'm not going to give it away, but following the series, MVP was interviewed, and he said that he normally saw during replays or during live casts that Naniwa played a very, very greedy style of Protoss. So that MVP's whole goal was to punish the way that Naniwa normally plays. Now that's one reason why I think this aggressive style of TvP is kind of coming back into style. Terrans have become so comfortable going for this gaseous expand that we see Wrath doing, that a lot of the times Protoss will just, you know, they'll just overcompensate for it. They'll play greedy, they'll cut corners in their economy and in their defenses, and that pretty much opens the door for Terrans to do all sorts of really aggressive things in response. If every single Protoss just assumes that you're going for a gaseous expand, you can use that assumption and do something really, really aggressive in response. But we don't see that. We don't see our Protoss player playing very greedy this time around. He does have a sentry down already. He is going for a relatively safe 1-Rax expand. And our Terran player is actually the greedy one right now. He does have only a single bunker down, but he is dropping 4 additional barracks on top of this. So he is going to ramp up Marine production after this. This actually might look a little bit like the mass barracks Marine style that's become pretty popular on the Korean ladder lately. Now, I'm not actually too familiar with this build. My understanding of it is that you power up a lot of Marines and you send some SCVs with it. Not that many, just a few. And if they are playing greedy, the build will just kill them outright. It's a very powerful 2-base push. But if they aren't playing greedy, well, then it allows you to gain map control and possibly take a 3rd base behind it. It's actually a really strong counter versus that Protoss Forge fast expand build that we've been seeing against Terran sometimes. If you've been seeing the GSL, it's a popular build that this build is actually pretty designed to counter. So we do have a lot of Marines coming out on the map right now. We do have a single SCV, not very much more than that, but we do have multiple sentries already down. So our Red Protoss players should be actually pretty safe from this, because this choke is actually pretty difficult to break with just Marines, and that is 3 sentries. So this is not really going to work too well if he decides that he wants to go up that ramp. He's going to try and go around on this side, but again, that's a lot of sentries. So what Wrath should probably do is recognize that this attack is probably not going to do very much. He's going home, and behind this he should be powering up his economy, and he is dropping that 3rd command center. So he is actually playing this build out very, very well from what you would normally see, but this is something I'm not used to. He is throwing down a lot of barracks. He's not going for any additional tech. He's just powering up 3 additional barracks, so we are now down to 7 barracks, 1 and 2 with tech labs. So it looks like this is going to be a very heavy Marine style. It is. We're going to have stim packs coming down. We're probably going to have combat shields coming down from the secondary barracks. I don't actually know if we're going to have too many Marauders being built at this point. It's probably going to be mostly Marines, and he's probably going to be researching combat shields on top of this. But when is he going to go for his 3rd base? And what is our Protoss going to be doing to follow this up? He does have the robotics facility down, but he isn't actually going for it first. And you know what? That's probably okay, considering the fact that he saw what his opponent was opening with that mass Marine style. Normally, like I've said in a previous cast, normally you always want to go for this robotics facility before you go for any other tech following your gateway expand, unless your opponent has revealed something that is going to indicate that he's not going for something like Cloaked Banshee play or a 1-1-1 or something like that. So, we do have the Twilight Council going down before our robotics facility, and we have a Templar Archives following this. So this is going to be a Zealot Archon type play, followed up probably by Colossus later or Psionic Storm, potentially Psionic Storm. We'll have to see how good our Protoss player actually is and how he's going to be utilizing this Templar tech. This is also a very popular. Strategy. It's what I call what a lot of people call, not just me, the Startail parting style of going for your Templar tech before you go for your Colossus tech and going for very heavy storm play. And considering that he's dropping down so many gateways, I'm actually pretty convinced that he is going to be investing heavily in this Templar tech. He's not going to be swapping into Colossus tech too early. So. Here's the thing, though. We already have a Ghost Academy coming down here, but our starport is a little bit late, so we are not going to be having a huge number of medevacs just yet. But we do have a lot of bio units out on the field right now, and the economy for both players is definitely going to be favoring Wrath. He has 46 SCVs right now, plus those 2 mules, so he does have a superior economy to our Protoss player, and he is up by over 20 supply. So Wrath is actually taking a pretty solid lead over his opponent here in the early game, but once these gateways start powering up, and once this Templar tech is able to actually start being utilized, that advantage might go away. So what is Wrath going to do with this advantage while he has it? Is he going to start putting on some heavy pressure, or is he really just going to be waiting for medevacs before he transitions into his drop play that I've seen him effectively use before in the TvZ matchup? So let's see how these two are actually going to respond to each other. Wrath is moving out over here to the bottom expansion, and it looks to me like he's just jockeying for a position right now, just trying to make sure that his opponent doesn't have all the map control that he wants. He does have control of both watchtowers right now. So Wrath is actually all over the map. He has complete map control at the moment, and he's continuing to power up his SCV production. Now, one thing about our Protoss player is that he is ahead in upgrades. He's already at 1-1. While Wrath is still at 0-0, he has just dropped down 2 engineering bays, so he is actually pretty far behind in upgrades right now. So what Wrath needs to do is utilize his heavier supply army right now before our Protoss player is able to start catching up in supply with higher upgraded units. So how is Wrath going to do that? Is he going to be going for a heavy drop play, or is he just going to move around here and try to deny this base? He has to do something before Storm comes down. He doesn't really have much in the way of counterattack. He does have one ghost. Is that two ghosts? He has three ghosts out on the field right now. He already has that Mobius reactor upgrade finished. So we actually could see Wrath counter what our Protoss player is going for with those ghosts. It's really going to come down to control. We do have a lot of High Templar out on the field right now, and he is chronoing out that Psionic Storm upgrade, but he doesn't have any Archons just yet, so Wrath has a really good opportunity right now to utilize this advantage that his opponent does not have Splash. He really is reliant only on Charge Lots and feedback at the moment. So we do have Wrath moving around. He is going to be attacking that third base. Slurpee's army is moving into position. He still doesn't have Storm just yet, but it is almost done. We do have a ghost we do have a couple ghosts moving out here on the field. He will be able to get EMPs down on these Zealots. Is he going to be moving in with EMP? Storm is done. Storm just finished. We do have High Templar coming in on the field. Are they going to be able to land a Storm, or is EMP going to go off? Whoa, we did get a snipe. One of those did go down, but a good Storm. Good Storm forces back all of Wrath's army, but he still has a much higher supply. But a second good Storm does manage to destroy a lot of that Bioforce. A third Storm does go down, but Wrath still just has a lot of units out on the field, but an additional Warped of Zealots should actually be able to clean up most of this attack. So Wrath did lose a lot of units in that attack, but he was able to actually bring down a lot of High Templar in the process. So overall, pretty even trade for both players. Wrath did lose more resources, or did lose more in resources than his opponent, but he does have a superior economy to his opponent right now. Slurpee's third base just finished. He's just transferring probes over to it right now. Meanwhile, Wrath has had this third base down for a little while, and he's now actually moving this command center over to establish his fourth base, and he is continuing to power up barracks. So it looks like our blue Terran player is really just interested in swarming his opponent, really taking advantage of the fact that you can only drop down so many storms before you run out of energy. So if you just are able to throw units at your opponent, kind of the way that Zerg likes to do, well then eventually you're going to run out of storm energy and the units are just going to keep coming. We are researching the +3 armor upgrade for our Protoss player, but he does not have a second forge down, so his attack upgrades are still only at 1. Which is kind of puzzling me a little bit. You would think with at this point in the game, with the economy being what it is, that he would have a second forge down for those additional upgrades. Wrath is going to be eliminating this upgrade advantage thanks to that double engineering bay. We do have another engagement coming down here. We did have a really nice storm and a feedback, so Wrath is being forced back very bad. That was not a very good engagement for Wrath. Feedbacks are going down on those ghosts, so all those ghosts are dying, but all of those Zealots are without very much in the way of shielding. We do have a secondary force from Wrath that is just waiting for this army to come up the field, but it looks like our Protoss player is actually going to fall back. He wants to eliminate this drop over here that did deny that fourth base attempt. So there are a lot of Zealots on the field right now. It's really just Zealots and High Templar. We don't have much in the way of Archons out on the field right now, which is something that is actually pretty crucial when using this style, is to make sure that you mix in Archons in addition. You don't want all of your splash damage to just really be those Storms. Storm is great, don't get me wrong. Storm is absolutely fantastic, but you want something on top of it. You want, like, you want an additional splash damage source to really finish things off while Storm does a lot of the damage. Because realistically, the only way that you're actually going to die by Storm is if you're against a Terran player that's really just going to stand in Storm for its full duration. But if you're actually just dodging it, at least partially the way that Wrath is, Storm is actually not going to kill the entire Terran army by itself. So you need a secondary form of splash damage. So I'm really wondering why our Protoss player is not actually mixing in Archons with this. He does have the gas to do so right now, so I'm really puzzled why he isn't. We do have another army moving out for our blue Terran player at the moment. The supply is much closer than it was before, so Wrath is going to need to start taking care of these High Templar if he wants to actually advance up the field. But he has established that fourth base. That fourth base is mining, so he does have a lot more gas income than our Protoss player at the moment, as well as mineral income thanks to those mules. Here we go. Oh, EMPs do go down on all the High Templar. This is a really good opportunity for Wrath to engage. He did eliminate all of the splash in that army with the exception of one High Templar. There's only one High Templar that has 2 Psionic Storms. I don't know if Wrath realizes how much of an advantage he has. He might be waiting for reinforcements before he moves out, but he has a huge opportunity right now. that opportunity kind of went away a little bit. We do have some more High Templar that have just moved down onto the field right now, and they have a lot of Storm energy also. This is not a good spot for Wrath to engage. That is a really narrow area for Storm to actually just take out a lot of that army. So here we go. More Terran units are moving out, but EMPs do go down. EMPs just eliminated all of the energy in that army. This is a huge opportunity for Wrath to just move in and finish off his Protoss player's army. But here are some more High Templar. Some more High Templar are up on the ramp. I didn't see these before. Storms need to go down before he loses most of his Zealots. A lot of Zealots are going down. No EMPs have gone down on those High Templar, but no Storms have gone down either. Our Protoss player is losing all of his Zealots, but here goes a Storm. A Storm does kill a lot of Terran bio units, but there are still just no filler units left. This is what I meant about needing to have Archons in that army. Without filler units, all Wrath had to do was kite back those Zealots, and when those Storms failed to go off for a long period of time, you were left with really nothing but High Templar. And High Templar cannot kill a Terran army by themselves. They need to have complementary units to complement that Storm damage. So Slurpee did lose pretty much all of his army, but our blue Terran player, Wrath, did take a lot of damage also. But the supply advantage is still heavily in the Terran's favor. He is making a lot more units. He's really utilizing that superior economy that he does have thanks to that 4th base. He is going to move up here. He is going to try and deny this 4th base. There are photon cannons in place, but that is not a lot of photon cannons for the amount of troops that are approaching this base right now. And our Protoss player is actually completely out of position. He will lose this base. There is no way that he's actually going to be able to save it. And with this planetary here and the fact that he does not have Colossus, he can't really do much in the way of counterattacks right now. We did lose a lot of Zealots to that warp and to that pylon destruction. I don't actually think that was a good idea at all for him to try and warp in units over on this side. He really should just be giving up this base. He's really losing units for nothing at this point. Storm is going down on all those injured units, and that was a good Storm, so this attack over here is going to be cleaned up, but we do have a lot of additional units in production for our blue Terran player right now. The supply is 99 to 146, so a very big advantage for the Terran. And like I said, without a secondary form of splash damage, Slurpee is really just over-reliant on those High Templar. And High Templar cannot deal with this alone. He needs to have Archons mixed in that army. I'm not really sure why he isn't utilizing Archons. We don't have a robotic support bay down either, so it is really just Storms. He is really just over-reliant on Storms. And look at this. Without any units to cover for these High Templar, he's really just going to lose all these High Templar to a very small squad of Marines and Marauders, and here come the remainder of the units. Now we finally have Archons out on the field. This is something he should have been doing a while ago, but now we have a lot of units for our Terran player. Here go the EMPs. Those EMPs are going to take down those Archons pretty handily, but where is the rest of Wrath's army? Wrath, it has a lot of supply, but not all of it is over here on the map. But it doesn't look like it's going to matter. We simply have too many ghosts with too much EMP energy and medevacs. Each of these units have a personal medevac healing them, so this army is being very cost-effective for our Terran player at the moment. But here we go. Our Protoss player is finally getting rid of those medevacs by feedbacking all of them, which is a very good thing that he is doing. These ghosts are pretty much abandoning the remainder of that army over on this side of the map. We do have reinforcements that have just been made for our Terran player. He is moving them out on the map. This observer, of course, does see all these reinforcements and the fact that our Terran player does have a pretty heavy ghost count. 3-3 has finished for our Terran, so remarkably, considering the way that this game started in upgrades, our two sides are now even in upgrades. I think 3-3 did finish for our Terran before 3-3 actually finished for our Protoss. This is one of the reasons why Protoss players, you always want to have that second forge. Our Protoss player was really just upgrading off of a single forge right now. I'm really not quite sure why he was doing that. Here we go. No observer out in the field. This cloaked ghost is going to EMP all of those High Templar. Or he's just going to snipe them. That works too. So there are only these High Templar left. I don't think any of them have Storm. No, none of these High Templar have Storm energy. They really only have energy for feedback, and without Storm on this army, there is really no splash damage to deal with this army, and the Ghosts are really just finishing off what High Templar are left, and Slurpee is forced to leave the game. Okay, that was pretty good play by both players, aside from the fact that Slurpee really wasn't going for a secondary form of splash. He was really just reliant on those High Templar. And you know what? His High Templar control was pretty good, especially pretty good for Masters level in North America. But he was behind in economy virtually the entire game. Wrath was up to 5 bases by the time that this finishing blow did come in. So really, the Terran really outplayed his opponent this entire game. I really think that, and he finally was starting to utilize Archons, and he was going for this robotic support bay at the end of this game, but it was way too late. It was way too late. Storm is really good, guys. Don't get me wrong. Storm is an amazing spell, especially against Terran Bio, but you need something else other than Storm. Storm doesn't kill things. It only weakens a lot of it. It's like AoE damage. You need to have that secondary form of splash, such as Archons, such as Colossus, to really kill the Terran units that are weakened thanks to those storms. So that was a poor decision by our Protoss player to not actually utilize something other than Storm. He was able to hold back the Terran for a while, but the superior economy of our Terran player did eventually manage to allow him to breach our Protoss player's defenses and ultimately come away with that game. So that was a pretty good game from both players. Glad I got to cast that. I will be back in a few minutes with another replay.